Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Oh my gosh, y'all, we did it. We did it. We did it. We got to 200,000 views by February 1st. We did it and we exceeded it. So thank you all, everybody who watches this show, who supports this show, who shares the show, all the guests who work so hard to get the episodes out there. 201. And January's not even over. So who knows what we'll start February with, because we have a great show today that I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch. I'm just so excited. So excited. That was it. That was my goal. I just wanted 200,000 by the 1st of February. I can't believe it. It is, I don't have much to tell you today. Dave Albin was supposed to be here. He was supposed to be on a plane that got canceled due to the horrific crash the other day. And so he will be back later in the year because his schedule is packed and our schedule is packed. But I did, however, find out that he doesn't live that far away from where we do this show. So hopefully when we do reschedule that he'll be able to come here in the studio. But instead we have Jeremy Norrie here, who is a great documentarian, an author, all kinds of great things. So he's going to be talking, and Marcy Axelrod is here, who's amazing. We're going to be showing up with Marcy Axelrod. She's a great book, How We Choose to Show Up. And I think that's going to turn into a little series. She's going to come back, I think, next week and talk to us more. So tune in for that. It is a National Inspire Your Heart with Art Day. And I don't know why we didn't know that sooner, but it is. And I just want to show you, I brought my art supplies in. When I last year went and and had really nothing to do, I went and got a bunch of art supplies. And I've been painting and making art for a few years now. It's not hanging anywhere. You can't buy it anywhere. I just do it for myself to inspire my heart. And so I brought in I'm going to grab it. These are my art supplies that I keep in my garage. And it's just all kinds of paint. And this is why when people say it's expensive to do art, you need all this space. You don't. This is my art supplies. And these are from like the dollar store. And there's some canvases in here, paint markers, paint, all kinds of stuff. So go get some paint supplies. Go to Five Below. Go to whatever store is close to you and get some paint, the grocery store. So I think what I'm going to do, because both of our guests today are actually pre-recorded interviews, I think I'm going to paint while their interviews are rolling, and then at the end of the show, we'll see what I make. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe that'll inspire someone to go grab their art and make some bad art. Because why not? Why not? Okay, there you go. So that's it. Happy Friday, everyone. It's the last day of January. Do you have your W-2 yet? Have you done your taxes? Okay, here we go. Let's get the show started. I have nothing else to tell you because it's Friday and we have 201,000 views. So I love it. All right, get ready to meet a game changer. She's a best-selling, award-winning author, a 2-time TEDx speaker, and she's here to help us all figure out how to show up in our lives. Her brand new book, How We Choose to Show Up, is a #1 bestseller and award winner. She's been featured in Forbes and Psychology Today, and she's worked with some of the biggest companies in the world. Give it up for the incredible Marcy Axelrod. Marcy, how are you?
Terrific. Really happy to be here with you, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Good. You are the author of the book, How We Choose to Show Up. You have created a system called the Show Up System, and you have really been in love with this idea since you were a child.
Yes.
I think I read at 6 years old.
Yes, 6 years old.
Tell me how that came about at 6 years old.
Absolutely. And your phrasing, I've been in love with this idea. I mean, wow, yes. Once you hear how it came up, you'll recognize the use of the word love there is very curious and informative. When I was 6, my family moved from Baltimore to Boston. It was a professional move for both my parents. They were finishing their postdocs at Johns Hopkins. They're both physicians. And at age 6, you can't really comprehend, like, what does it mean to move? So my world changed. My friends disappeared, new home, new everything, and mom and dad very interested in their careers. So little Marcy wasn't getting what she needed. And I started, instead of acting out, what I think a lot of kids do who just really want to be good kids is we kind of act in.
Yeah.
So my throat started to lock and I lost the ability to speak. And as a result of that, I started to observe how others were showing up because I couldn't show up as I chose. So therefore, my lens started to turn, how are others showing up? And there was this, as you can imagine, at age 6, frustration and rage. I can't show up as I choose, but look at all these people throwing their own show up choices away. And yeah, showing up as not engaged or as bullies or as scaredy cats or as whomever they were in the moment.
Wow. How do you feel like that changed? Did you feel like it started to change also the people around you when you maybe started acting differently?
I appreciate that. So there's no way that anyone's emotive state or actions don't change others. It's impossible. I mean, just a few days ago, there was research showing that the microbiome of your friends changes your microbiome. I mean,
Wow.
everything about us shifts. It's interesting. At the time, I really wasn't thinking, gee, is the teacher going to start to intervene more when kids aren't kind? Because I'm sitting there staring at her or him thinking, how can you let this happen? Yeah. So I didn't directly observe that, but thank you for planting the seed that maybe it did make a difference back then.
Something tells me it did, because you have such a powerful presence about you that is so kind of like attractive, which I'm sure you hear all the time, that like people are attracted to you, and right, I'm just because of your kind of aura.
Wow, I really appreciate that. I know it's put it that directly, but yes, all my life since I was about age 8, people have said, I knew I needed a little bit of Marcy. I need some Marcy, or you inspire me. And yeah, maybe that is why I said, I'm going to put this book on the forefront and I'm going to get this out there, because the research needs to be there about how we endlessly, deeply impact each other, well beyond what society today teaches us. It's like a secret that society thinks you can be competitive with someone else and not have some kind of impact on them, or you can just show love and be open with an energy of let's do this together, and not have that impact them.
Tell everybody, the book is called How We Choose to Show Up. Great title, great words to live by. I think it's a perfect title. Tell everybody what they can expect from the book.
Sure. So 20 years of research in hard science wrapped into a story that I think is very relatable and visceral. So what it explains is how nature designed human beings to show up to thrive. And I very immediately talk about, like, look, we all know that we either just show up, like you're just like, okay, I've got to go. You walk out, or you really ground yourself and you ask yourself, how do I want people to feel in my presence, right? That's truly showing up. Or you're barely there. And you can infer what that is. I have a chapter on each, and I talk about the neuroscience behind it, the biology, the evolutionary biology, the psychology, and how it plays out. So that's what the book is. It lays out the levels of showing up, and it lays out how we're designed to show up and the impact of this.
And who would you say what the book is for?
Oh my goodness. Everyone and anyone who wants to feel like, yeah, I'm living the life I'm designed to lead. anyone who wants to be the parent they want to be, the leader they want to be, who just wants to feel good about themselves, who wants to get rid of the loneliness, who wants to feel more connected.
What are you hearing from the people who have read it?
What a beautiful question. I hear things like, Marcy, I will never show up the same way again. I also hear it stops me. It stops me from just defaulting into a pattern of what I used to do, and I feel my life has more purpose.
Wow. What did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
It's very rare. I grew up with parents who quietly modeled making a difference in people's lives. So it was just very clear to me that I was going to follow a passion and do the same, because that's what was modeled for me. And I feel incredibly grateful that it worked out.
Wow. That's exciting. What do you love most about your life right now?
Most about my life? I want people to learn about showing up, and I want people every moment to recognize right here, right now, this is it. This is what you've got. Make this moment count. Be who you want to be right here, right now. That is it. This takes mindfulness into a whole nother sphere, because it is a responsibility. It isn't just like the world is focused on us with the mirror here. No. This is a semi-permeable membrane for a reason. We feel each other for a reason.
Yeah.
We are not these inert things. So what I want people to do is to recognize you are changing the world with how you show up right here, right now. So make a choice about it. Don't just default.
I know it's not like, flip a switch and you're showing up exactly, but what are there some ways that people can kind of implement into their daily lives now, that like some tips, or is it you're shaking your head?
No, you better bet. Are you kidding me? Tips, you better bet. So anything and everything that gets you to pause, to reset your system. If you're moving from one thing to the next, that's just showing up. You are largely using the attention system that is narrow. It sees 3 degrees of what's going on. It doesn't come from a place of wholeness. It comes from a place of power over get it done. So anything that shifts your body system down, a few breaths, closing your eyes, feeling your body, anything that leads you to enact care, thinking, looking into someone's eyes. What I talk about in my 2 TED Talks is trace a 3 on your finger, but really what you're doing is feeling your body when you do this. It shuts down the voice in your head. It brings you into your body. It brings you focused. So anything like that, the chapter, I believe 12 of the book, it gives you a bunch of things. Journal, write even a single sentence, I am feeling. A single word of gratitude. So all of these things, which I think are kind of part of a whole genre that people are familiar with, choose whatever works for you. You will notice the difference, because the people around you will not behave the way that they would have when you are more fully showing up, what I call truly showing up. I'll stop there, but there's a whole neuroscience behind it. There's a lot there. These are not just words. These will change.
Yeah.
You will change lives.
Well, I think it's also important because you were saying, it's 20 plus years of research and all that goes into that. And so that can get scary to some people, like, oh boy, I have to, but it is those simple things, right?
Yes. And the word simple, it's profound. It is existential. And don't be afraid of those words. You change lives right now with how you are showing up. Your power is infinite, and that might seem too extreme, but just do a little experiment. The next person you're with, just be there for a few moments, silently with them instead of to them. There's a lexicon of showing up. I talk about being with and for, and you will notice you are resetting their nervous system right there. And they're just pause. Or if they're going quickly, they'll slow down a little bit and they will notice something. And they may not verbalize it, but if you are attuned, you will notice it and you'll say, wow, that just worked. I just changed that moment.
Wow. Where can people get the book?
Well, Amazon has it. I've kept it at a very low price. I think it's $4.99 for the ebook, regular price for a paperback. I recommend you get the paperback because when you read the written word, you absorb more. Write. The moment you write, you're reflecting back, your body has internalized it more deeply. So please tell people about how we choose to show up. It will change lives. You will change lives and you will be more of who you are meant to be.
Oh my God, I could have you here all day long. What about the show up system? Tell everybody about that system that you created.
Yeah, I just put the word system on essentially how we're designed to show up. Basically, know that there are levels, know that you're choosing every moment. And, without just listing it all, I explain in the system, you are not an isolated, inert little thing there. We flow with, to, and for each other. And that's really what the system talks about. And it explains that.
Does it feel like, as, I don't know, the world seems to be getting crazier, that people are starting to figure this out more? Or is that just me?
Yeah, desperation starts to put tentacles into the truth and highlight the truth. Yes, nature shows up a certain way. Humans are nature. Okay. And whether we come from God, whether we come from the earth, there is a way we are designed to show up. So yes, people are cluing in because the world is becoming more extreme. And as it starts to break and crack, the truth starts to show up for us,
Yeah. What's the best way that people can connect with you and find you and follow you? And
choosetoshowup.com is the website. And really, this is not about me. It's not about kind of the teacher. It's about the teachings. So what I want people to do is to think and speak about and live a choice of how you show up. It's deeply important. You'll start to feel great about yourself. You'll have more energy. The world will show up for you differently because you're making a choice in this moment of how you want to affect the world.
Oh, Marcy Axelrod, you're amazing. I thank you for being here so much.
It's an honor, Richard. And really, people, please do be in touch with me. Let's partner. I want to support you in everything that you're trying to do.
And the book is called How We Choose to Show Up. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
We're going to take a break and we'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
All right, we're back, everybody. And this is how far I've come. On my, there's paint dripping. It's my art so far today. Just painting. Because it's, what's it called? It's Inspire Your Heart with Art Day. And so I'm just painting here on the show. All right. Oh, also, Marcy so nicely is giving, wait, let me get it, is giving everyone in the studio audience a copy. Our next guest has lived a life that could fill a dozen movies, and he's actually made about 30 of them. He's a filmmaker, a producer, an author. He's basically a Renaissance man with a very interesting past. He has directed and produced documentaries for Amazon Prime, Fox, CBS, Apple TV, you name it. He's been there. And his films, everything from Bigfoot to Buddhism, UFOs to women's wrestling, he covers it all. Please give a warm welcome to Jeremy Norrie.
Thank you. I'm also an author. I have a book. Yeah.
Good. Well, let's start there. Tell everybody about your book.
Yeah. So I have a book called Jack Moves. It's about my shady time growing up when I was selling drugs out of my house. I got home invaded a couple times and robbed. And then as I progressed in the world of cannabis and whatnot, I started throwing these events all over the world, hash competitions. And I almost got arrested doing those. So it's all these stories that aren't the most fun to recall and tell. So I told them all in a book. And now I can kind of send people to the book, and I don't have to relive those every time.
I mean, what was that like to write that book and to relive? What was the kind of the gap between that kind of previous life and writing the book?
Sure. So I wrote the book when it was kind of near the end of all those things happening, but then it took me 10 years to finish the book. And so I was doing all that stuff in my 20s, probably kind of near the end of my 20s is when it was finishing up. And I wrote the book probably in my mid 30s. And then I didn't finish the book until maybe a couple years ago in my early 40s. Yeah. I had the first copy of the book is free on my website. So you can kind of get a feel if you like it or not.
Perfect. And what's your website?
My website is theskyisland.com. And it's not fully up to date on all my films, but that's mostly for my filmmaking and kind of promoting all the various different documentary projects that I've worked on. I have something close to 40 different documentaries that I've made at this point of all kinds of different topics. So it's a convenient way of being able to just send anybody who's interested in any of those directly to one place.
As someone who's getting their website updated now, it's very hard when you got a lot going on to keep that updated for everybody to go to, isn't it?
Yeah, I basically do it every 6 months or so, and I do it myself. So I kind of go on there, and then I just update everything for where I'm at the time.
Who would you say the book is for?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So it was basically my attempt at a true crime type of book. I'd imagine that the kind of person who would enjoy it, there's a couple of different people. So if you're a hardcore cannabis person, you participated in any of that lifestyle during the early, the 90s to the early medical days, a lot of that stuff is going to pertain to the things that you know and love, and you might, want to read about that in some sort of nostalgic. Otherwise, the people who like it are the vanilla of the world, who don't do any of this kind of wild stuff, and who can't imagine what it would be like to be home invaded or robbed and to live this wild lifestyle. So I'd imagine the people who enjoy it the most are like the people who have kind of the most sheltered life, where these things are very exciting to them, and
Or would feel like fantasy. Yeah, like completely made up. Yes. How did you get into the filmmaking, and do you remember what made you fall in love with film?
Absolutely. So those original days of my wild life in the cannabis industry led to me throwing events. That's what the end of the book is about. And my events were so unique and popular that I thought, we need to document these. So I hired a company to film and start documenting some of these events that I was throwing. And that company wasn't a film company. They mostly made highlight videos and things like that. So as time progressed and eventually our event ended. And so the film took on a different role to kind of be a memory of that time. And we worked together to kind of come up with a conclusion and some sort of final product of a film. And then when I finally had that, I went to try and distribute it or get it picked up by some platform. And all these people in the cannabis world had told me that they could help me. They worked on Vice, or they knew somebody at Netflix, or this or that. And a lot of them had projects that were on some of these platforms. So you thought, these stories are legitimate. But they did not have the pull or the authority that was required to be able to help me. So it was dead end after dead end with all these various different people. It took me years to eventually find the person that I work with now. And it was one of those, a friend of mine introduced me to a friend of hers. And that gentleman introduced me to a friend of his. And that guy eventually introduced me to a friend of his. And that's who I work with now. So
Wow.
it was a weird, unconventional way of kind of going about this and eventually having success with the filmmaking process. And I was just very lucky.
And what types of films do you make now usually?
So the most profitable films that we make are what I call strange phenomenon films. So UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, anything in that kind of odd, strange world. We did astrology, and like anything in that world seems to do well without a lot of effort from us. Like we don't have to spend money on marketing those. I might have to spend a little on making the films, but they are organically popular on their own. Whereas some of the things that I'm more passionate about and care about, I've done martial arts. I did a women's pro wrestling movie early on, and those weren't popular. Those were labors of love. I made those films. I'm most proud of some of those, but they weren't financially successful. So when that happens, you kind of have to reassess, like, how many of those am I going to do versus like using my time on the things that are financially profitable. So I do all kinds of different topics. We're trying out new things all the time, but we haven't really struck anything that was a whole nother genre of films that we could kind of keep going back to the way that we do with the strange phenomenon films.
How many films at one time could you be working on?
So right now I'm probably working on almost 10. And
Wow.
every year, my goal is to complete 10 films. So we represent kind of the new way of doing filmmaking, which is low budget. You're getting these films out, and you're not dedicating your life to any one project. You're not holding any project for ransom until you get the money that you feel you deserve for something that you worked on. Just putting these things out, you get paid based on how well they do, just like YouTube. So our distributors get our projects on all kinds of platforms like Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, which is Fox's streaming platform, Pluto TV, which is CBS's streaming platform. There's Plex, there's Roku, Apple TV. There's all these different places where our films get placed by the distributor, but we get paid based on how well they do on those platforms. And so the distributor also gets paid based on that percentage. So it's good for everybody if any of these are popular, but we're not putting crazy money into something that doesn't pay that money back. So yeah, that's basically the way those all work. And because of that, we work on a lot of different things all at one time, and it keeps me busy and it keeps us having new things to release all the time.
What would your advice be to filmmakers or people who want to get into filmmaking that are just starting? Because it feels like with all the streaming platforms and services, and people can have their own networks now, their own streaming services, that it's in some ways easier, but I'm assuming in some ways it's a lot harder.
It's true, and YouTube is probably the best way. You can kind of make any kind of project that you want. You can make a short film, you can put it on YouTube, and if you have enough followers, or you can do a revenue share with a channel that does have followers, you can make money on those projects. They can be 2 minutes long, they could be 2 hours long, they could be 5 hours long. Like, that's the most forgiving platform. Also with R&D or any of the standards and practices, like, there's no real requirements for the most part, like there are with Amazon and some of the other platforms that have a little bit stricter policies on what they're willing to take. And like Amazon, for example, only works with aggregators. So you as an individual can't really sell your stuff to Amazon anymore the way that a distributor can. And so the first step, though, make stuff for YouTube. If you start having success there, then you're probably going to have success on the other platforms, and you can kind of explore what you need to do to get on there next.
Is there a movie of yours, a film of yours, that you would recommend someone start with, if they're just discovering you, if they're on your website, if they're like, all right, let's see what he's about. What should they watch?
Well, I suppose it depends what kind of thing you're looking for. With UFOs and Bigfoot, we have a few really, really popular films. So part of me would say probably those are going to be the ones that you like, based on most people seem to like those. But the films I'm the most proud of aren't the ones that have been the most popular. So my best work, I would say, are these diet nutrition films we made. There's one called Eat, Play, Diet. There's another one called Spoonful of Poison. And there's another one called Diet Deception. And all of those, I would say, that's my best work as far as what I'm most proud of, production-wise, and all the things that a filmmaker would be looking at to be proud of. We followed the most rules. We did everything kind of the most professionally in those films, but they're not the most popular. I have a film called Don't Call Me Bigfoot that there's probably millions of people have seen it at this point, and I've been recognized from that film. And it's not my best work. It's near the bottom of production wise what the best we could do is, but people seem to really respond to that movie. UFO wise, I have a few. There's I Want to Believe. There's a whole series of movies in that I Want to Believe. There's I Want to Believe, I Want to Believe 2, I Want to Believe 3. All those are probably my favorite UFO things that we've made. But this year, we just released today a UFO crash retrieval movie with an expert that worked at a famous place, and he's very analytical. It's, as far as UFO data is concerned, this is probably the most official. You as somebody that's interested in UFOs might get the most out of that movie.
Oh, wow.
Earlier, we also released one called Who Are They, or Who They Are. And that's about a book where they believe people went underground 13,000 years ago, and they've been living there ever since. So there's all kinds of wild topics. I try to make it so you'll like every single thing that we put out. And in a way, I'm proud of everything. So
yeah, as you should be. What do you love most about your life right now?
I mean, I love what I do. I do love the filmmaking. It has been my adult education in a way, that and listening to podcasts. And I get these really unique situations. When I was doing those diet and nutrition documentaries, I was meeting with these professionals. One lady worked at Cedars-Sinai. She had a TED talk. And it would have been thousands of dollars for me to sit for a couple hours and talk to this person. But I'm getting to do that with all these different people. And it's personalized. So I'm asking these questions, and it's the education I always dreamed about. And whether it's UFOs and I'm talking to a crash retrieval guy, or whether I'm talking to a PhD nutritionist or something. And yeah, there's all kinds of different things. And I did a mentalism documentary earlier this year. So I interviewed all these magicians and guys that can kind of brainwash you or read your mind. And so we got to delve into how they do those things, and is that part of society? And so it's a really wonderful thing. I'm super lucky to be able to do, and I'm very grateful for my old life that was so exciting, that I look back on when I'm kind of think that my life might be a little boring. I think back on those wild times, and it's like I'm very fortunate to have done the things I've done and be where I'm at now. So
I love that. What's the best way that people can connect with you and follow you and support you?
Oh, the best way? Well, we were already talking about it. My website and then my IMDb page. So the best thing to help filmmakers in general is leaving reviews and comments. So, the 5 stars, the higher the review, the better for us. The higher, the better. And if you can also leave a comment, like something positive, that is really, really helpful. And you can do that on Amazon and on IMDb. So those are the 2 places that are the most useful.
Okay, good. Jeremy, Norrie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate it so much. All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Also, of course, Jeremy, so nice, giving a copy of his book to it's Inspire Your Heart with Art Day. And so this is what I made during the show today. There you go. Just a little, I'm not done with it yet, so I'm still going to play with it. This is what I did in what, 35 minutes, less than 35 minutes. And it'll probably go in the garbage, but who cares? It was fun to make. And I'm going to finish it up later. I've got some markers here, and maybe I'll show you on Monday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. Thank you for a very successful January. Here's to February, all right? Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.